I was in Manchester, so I couldn't go to the screening. So you blagged that you were me and went in my stead.
Yes, thank you very much.
That's right. And who did you take with you?
I took my father with me.
All right. And how much does your dad know about 40k?
Absolutely nothing.
Right. So he's a complete and utter newcomer to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is what Games Workshop are trying to sort of semi-market the film to.
Yeah.
As well as the hardcore fans. What was his sort of impression on the whole thing?
He thought it was a good film. He found it entertaining. He didn't really expand much on the subject, but I will say there was one person in the crowd who, when we did the question session at the end, said, "I know nothing about 40k. I don't. My friend plays it. He invited me along, and he said it was a good film, and he really enjoyed it."
Okay.
And he was probably up to 20 years old, so he was quite young. So if he thought it was a good film, I think it would be good for anyone, really.
Okay, so with regards to the Space Marines, because obviously, as Dan Abnett said in other video interviews, it's the main focus is the Space Marines because they're at the crux of 40k. How much does it sort of describe what Space Marines are all about?
It basically describes how the fact that Space Marines are like warriors of the Emperor and how they fight demons and aliens and monstrosities.
So it doesn't go into like how a Space Marine's made. It doesn't sort of detail anything of the Horus Heresy or the Emperor. It just says these are the Space Marines. They're the last line of defence. They're like the elite of the elite.
It does go on. It does have a little bit about mention. It does have a reference to gene seed in it, but it doesn't describe what it is. But for any 40k player who's watching the film, they'll know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so just to quickly summarise on the film as a whole, obviously we're not allowed to talk about what the plot is, but we can say whether it's good and all the elements behind it.
Yeah.
Who are the characters in it?
Right, the characters, it's basically about a squad of Ultramarines who've just earned their rights to wear power armour.
Right, so they've just graduated from being scouts.
Yes, and basically it's them, and they're led by a captain and an apothecary who are like veterans. You can tell by, obviously, they look a lot older. It's like they're basically like their first mission.
Okay. Yeah, because there's Chaos Marines in the trailer.
The Chaos Marines are really well done actually, because they all look horrific. They've got like the same armour, but it's all got the pointy bits on it. They've all got all the horrific weaponry, and they're all completely insane. In fact, even when they talk, you can't even understand what they're saying half the time.
How long's the film, roughly?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half,
But
so there's quite a bit of content in there.
It's an hour and a half, but I admit it felt longer. I felt like I was there for 2 hours.
Right, all good stuff.
I enjoyed every second of it.
There was that much in the film to keep you entertained?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So, did it start quite slow, or did it just launch straight into action?
Literally, the first 5 seconds is like, you see a bit of action, and then it kind of starts the backstory for the for like a bit for the characters and like what they're going to do, and then it moves on to it. I wouldn't say it's all out action, because it's more about the fact that the squad's new. They're kind of getting used to the fact that they're all Space Marines now, and they're all eager because it's like their first mission and everything else.
Okay, there's 2 things that concern me about the film.
Yeah.
The first of all is the CGI, because some of the preview images we saw before looked a bit rubbery and didn't look that great. The second point was whether some of the typical Warhammer 40k phrases translate very well to a movie. So, okay, we're used to Space Marines charging forward and screaming for the Emperor, but some of the more complicated phrases like, and they shall know no fear, etc, etc, did they come across alright, or were you sort of sitting there cringing thinking, my dad's next to me and this all sounds a bit geeky?
No, it was perfect. They did it. They didn't actually. No one actually said for the Emperor in the entire thing. I don't think.
Oh, that's a shame.
But you did have we shall have no fear and things like that, and you did have the war cries and everything else.
But it all sounded very convincing.
It all sounded very convincing. The voice acting was the actors they picked was top notch. For the characters that they played. Okay,
so who was your favourite character in this?
Oh, Sean Pertwee's character, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
Yeah, because he was like, he was one of the novices, he was like one of the new Marines, and he's like very eager, but it was good because it just showed him getting there, realising that it's not exactly what he thought it would be. And he kind of goes through like a little bit, you see him kind of change a little bit and grow a bit more.
Yeah, because I assume that obviously they're new Space Marines, like you say, and on their first mission they encounter Chaos Marines. I remember seeing in the trailer where Sean Pertwee's character saying like, "Oh, how can you tell the taint of chaos?"
Yeah, yeah. He asks things like that, and it's great because he asks it to the captain and to the apothecary, who are veterans, which is kind of cool because it kind of showed how before you just assume when a Marine gets his armour, that's it. He knows everything. You know, he was a scout. He's done all that.
Now he's got his armour.
Now he's got his armour. He knows everything. Where before it was like, oh, I've just got my battle armour. I don't know. So I ask someone else, and I kind of liked that because it kind of made it seem a bit more. That made it seem a bit more human.
Yeah, they're not quite so ignorant as they used to be in the background.
But they did it well. The way the CGI actually was great because it was. They're all standing there in their armour, and it's like it is a bit shiny, but it's not too shiny. And the way it was filmed, and the way like they did with the fighting, the sword fighting, some of it was top notch. It looked like a real duel.
Right. Okay. This all sounds really good.
They even, in fact, they also stuck in they had a land speeder in it, and it looked top notch, like the way it flew and everything else, and the way that they used it as well. It was just how you'd imagine they would use it in the fiction. One thing I will say is they're doing a special DVD box set that's coming out on the 29th of November, and this is before it's released in shops in March. Now I've ordered a copy.
Really, you were that impressed?
I was that impressed. Yeah.
All right. How much was that?
£25. But obviously you get the standard metal case, you get a DVD of the making of, and also because they had like a preview box of it, you get a Dan Abnett made comic in colour, telling the story of the squad and how they got their power armour before.
Ah, see, a prequel.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So once the film had finished,
Yeah.
you all sat there and you sort of had a chat with the creators about the film.
Yeah.
How did that go? What happened?
Very positively from the creators' point of view, I would say. A lot of people were impressed with the way they'd done it, how they filmed it, how it looked. What I thought was what was the main concern, I think, for a lot of people with this film was that it wouldn't be an accurate way to represent the 40k universe, and I thought it was very, very good.
Okay.
It was not. It was horrible. It was nasty.
Yeah, because it's rated 15, isn't it?
Yeah, there is actually. Well, it is a CGI, so you don't really look at it the same way as normal film gore. But there's a lot of there is a lot of nasty things.
What, like God of War?
We're not talking. Well, no, we're not talking God of War, but there you things like they come to a battleground, and like there's just loads of dead guardsmen everywhere, and they're all in cages and like heads on pikes and things like that. And there's and people that have been used in chaos rituals, so you can imagine what that kind of looks like.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying this is the first one, and if this is as successful as they hope it will be, they're looking to do more. Yeah. Was there any discussion into what else they would be doing?
They said they might do it focusing on other races, and also what they did say was they might focus on it where it would be a bigger battle, like a planetary invasion. Because when the film first came out and it was called Ultramarines, I was expecting it maybe be like a company retaking a planet or
the Battle for Macragge.
Or the Battle for exactly, or a Battle for Macragge. But because it was about a scouting mission, I wasn't sure. But watching the film, it was good. I would love to see what else they could do, because you had obviously they did the Space Marines, which looked top notch with their bolt guns and all the other heavy weapons they had as well. You had the land speeder, which looked brilliant. Like they obviously thought about how it would fly, how it would work.
Yeah.
And then I would love it. What probably would have really, really made my days if a dreadnought come strolling in or something. And I think that would have been amazing. Or they had Land Raider or something else.
If they did a sequel,
Yep.
or another Warhammer 40k film,
Yep.
what would you suggest it would be about?
Well, it's hard to say, because where do you start? There's so many other races you can go into.
Is it worth doing the other races?
That's the thing. Space Marines are the most popular selling point for Games Workshop, as everyone knows. So everyone knows what the Space Marines are. They could always base it on things. I imagine Eldar would be something good you could base it on, but then a lot of people might not enjoy it as much. Well, there was also a few comments about Dark Eldar witches as well. I can imagine why.